A major winter storm is headed our way just in time for the holidays.
When that weather starts to come here, we know that there definitely will be impacts to flights.
From flight cancellations to hazardous driving conditions and school closures, the winter weather is expected to have an impact on many people's holiday plans. Plus,
so these regulations, they set the seal on a truly appalling betrayal of Ontario voters.
the Ford government is forging ahead with developing the Greenbelt despite broad opposition to the plan. And
I was shocked when he told me somebody else was using my license number.
some Airbnb hosts say they are fed up being repeatedly kicked off the platform due to so-called Airbnb pirates hijacking their permits, posting bad listings under their license numbers. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. We are just hours away from what Environment Canada is calling a major winter storm. A school is cancelled across the GTA for tomorrow. And whether you're going by car or hopping on a flight, this winter storm will likely have an impact on your holiday travel plans. WestJet tonight announcing the cancellation of more than 240 flights across the country, including from Southern Ontario. Dale Manukduk joins us live in downtown Toronto. And Dale, the rain has started to come down and this weather only expected to get worse.
Yeah, Kelda, it is cold, it's windy, the rain is consistent, and tomorrow the temperatures are expected to drop drastically. So all of this rain is going to quickly turn into freezing rain and then into snow. And all of that ice and snow is going to have a huge impact on highway roads, on city streets, in the air, on what's open, what's closed, and what's canceled. Goals aren't the only thing these kids are celebrating tonight.
I want to play more hockey.
Well, Christmas wish granted, young man. Winter break coming one day early with school boards across the GTA canceling class due to the storm, leaving plenty of time to hit the ice.
It's good. I'm probably going to go skating again tomorrow, too.
Me too. I'll be here again.
But not everyone is feeling the move.
So-so.
Why so-so?
Because I want pajama day.
Speaking of sleep attire, some at Pearson probably wishing they had pajamas and a warm bed. The storm out west causing numerous delays and cancellations. This man and his family spent the night in Toronto, but not by choice.
We just flew in from Cancun last night, and our flight was canceled. They didn't tell us why. So now we're showing up today, and hopefully we'll get it.
There could be several more delays and cancellations tomorrow if the weather forecast is correct. In fact, WestJet has already canceled all flights arriving and departing from Pearson starting at 9 a.m. Those who have flights booked over the next few days should prepare for the worst.
Check the status of your flight just in case it has been impacted by anything else that's been going on. Best to stay in touch with your airlines. They'll have the best information.
So, schools are closed and air travel is iffy. What about the roads?
Come snow or rain, they want to go see Santa, and the urgency to be on the roads may outweigh some of the risks for some people. We just want people to remember that when you're driving, you need to drive to those conditions.
Many people are expected to travel by car over the next few days to go and see loved ones for the holidays, which means city staff have their work cut out for them, trying to keep roads clear. But they say they are planning ahead as much as possible.
So one of the things that we're doing in preparation is we're actually now going to be taking some of our equipment and parking them at various locations across the city. We call that loaded standby.
So, Kelda, a lot of preparations, a lot of operational changes. You mentioned WestJet off the top. That is a lot of cancellations affecting a lot of people. Meanwhile, the city of Toronto, they are opening up its 3 warming centers at Metro Hall, Scarborough Civic Center, and Mitchell Field Community Center. They're also bringing on extra staff to assist with any down branches or debris as a result of that expected high winds. And the TTC are taking 41 bus routes offline. They're also going to move to buses only for the Scarborough RT once the snow starts coming. So a lot of impact on a lot of people tomorrow, Kelda.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for that, Dale. That's our Dale Manukduk live for us tonight. Let's go to Dahlia Ashry now with a first check on your forecast. And Dahlia, we're all bracing for this storm. The rain has begun and soon the snow will be here.
That's right, Kelda. I mean, we had a pretty decent day overall, but like you just said, a little bit of rain tonight, and that will be carrying through into tomorrow. And that's when that winter storm really is going to be kicking in. We have that winter storm warning in effect. So there's lots to go through. So bear with me here. Toronto, 4 degrees for the daytime high. Today was 4 degrees, felt more like -1, but overall, great temperature and not so bad in terms of snow or rain. We really had nothing for the most of the day. It was just around 9 o'clock when that rain and drizzle started kicking in. Now, we do have that winter storm warning in effect. As we can see here, it is already in effect for Friday mainly, tomorrow and Saturday, all across the board. Some heavy and strong conditions as well in Ottawa. Over here, what are we going to be expecting for tomorrow? 6 a.m. we're expecting rain. 9 a.m. snow and flurries. We have a flash freeze that will be in effect, so that means some slippery road conditions. So please don't go out if you don't need to. We know that schools are already canceled, so that means buses will be safe and don't need to be on the roads. 5 p.m. a blizzard, strong winds tomorrow, snow squall in effect. We could be seeing winds gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour tonight. Temperatures are expected to drop 3 degrees tomorrow. 1 degree for the daytime high, but a winter storm is on its way.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. Toronto police have made an arrest in connection with a serious stabbing incident today. Investigators say the victim was found at Greenholm Junior Middle School near Jamestown Crescent and John Garland Boulevard shortly before 9 this morning. He had been stabbed and made his way to the school to get help. The man was taken to hospital with what's being described as life-threatening injuries. The school was put into a hold and secure. Investigators are trying to determine where the incident took place. A funeral was held today for one of the victims of the mass shooting at a Vaughan condo building over the weekend. Family and friends gathered to say goodbye to Naveed Dada. He was one of 5 people killed by a gunman who opened fire on Sunday night. Dada's funeral was in Mississauga, followed by his burial. Family members say he was an intelligent man who lived alone and had 8 siblings. His nephew organized today's service after flying in from Florida. The Ontario Autism Coalition is calling out the province tonight over what it calls a failed promise to provide funding to thousands of children by the end of fall. The commitment was part of the PC's revamp of the Ontario Autism Program. But a spokesperson for the ministry says the province's target was actually met. Tally Ricci has the details.
The community as a whole, they're heartbroken.
Tony Stravato, father of twin boys with autism, says he's feeling deflated.
I wasn't surprised. This government has missed the mark time after time.
The province said it was working towards its commitment of providing 8,000 children with funding for core clinical services by the fall. That was the language used on their website and in press releases. A spokesperson for the ministry confirmed it met the target of enrolling 8,000 children and youth in core clinical services. But the Ontario Autism Coalition says that's different than actually receiving the funding.
Because once children are registered, they do an intake interview and then they do a needs assessment or a needs determination interview. And I know that there are interviews scheduled all the way out into August. So those children aren't going to see any funding until as early as August. So to say that they've met their target is actually a bold-faced lie.
The province didn't respond to CBC News' question on how many families have been provided with core services funding. In a statement, a spokesperson for the ministry said, by December 31st, it will have issued transition invitations to every child and youth registered with the Ontario Autism Program, adding it's critical that families accept invitations as it continues to roll out its world-leading program to as many children as possible. Parents of children with autism say early intervention therapies dramatically improve their quality of life. They also cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Simple things that we take for granted, like just eating with a spoon, using the toilet. Communication is key, and without these therapies, it just can't be achieved. Like, parents are tired. We need the help. These are medically prescribed therapies. We shouldn't be on the streets begging for it.
I was told that he would probably be in diapers for the rest of his life. I was told the most horrific thing, which was he would never recognize me as his mother. None of that is true. I know that early intervention played a huge role in his life.
And that's why they say they'll keep fighting for better access to these services.
These are children, and they deserve the chance to learn the way they need to learn.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ford government is moving forward with its controversial plan to open up environmentally protected land in the GTHA for housing development. Now, the province quietly approved 2 regulations last week that remove almost 3,000 hectares of land from the Greenbelt and Oak Ridges Moraine, a vast area that was meant to be off limits to development forever. Ryan Patrick Jones reports.
This farmland in Pickering is no longer part of the Greenbelt. It and 14 other areas of environmentally significant land could soon be paved over to make way for housing. Premier Doug Ford had promised to leave the protected area alone.
Unequivocally, we won't touch the Greenbelt.
But his cabinet approved regulations last week, clearing the way for development in those areas.
These regulations, they set the seal on a truly appalling betrayal of Ontario voters. And not just people who identify as environmental voters, not just opposition supporters, but each and every voter who voted for a PC candidate.
The changes come 10 days after a public consultation period ended. More than 27,000 comments were sent in that, in the government's own words, showed broad opposition. Citizens, conservation authorities, environmental organizations, agricultural groups, Indigenous communities, and most municipalities opposed the plan. The home building industry was supportive.
The fact that this government is plowing ahead just 10 days after those consultations wrapped up is a real indication that they had no intention of ever even pausing for a moment with this terrible plan.
The government says opening up the land will lead to the construction of 50,000 new homes. Critics say it's a gift to developers that will lead to more urban sprawl. As CBC News first reported, several prominent developers own much of the land in question, and several properties were bought after the Ford government came to power.
Well, these shady land deals just don't pass the smell test. I mean, what developer is going to spend millions of dollars buying land that they can't develop? Like, it makes absolutely no sense.
Opposition parties and advocacy groups have called for investigations into whether the Ford government tipped off the developers in advance. But Ford and Housing Minister Steve Clark have denied those accusations. In a statement, a spokesperson for Clark says the province wants to see home construction begin by 2025, with significant progress on municipal approvals by the end of next year. And it expects at least 10% of all new homes built on the land to be attainable or affordable. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
Some Airbnb hosts in Toronto say they are fed up after being kicked off the rental platform due to so-called Airbnb pirates. Now, these are individuals who hijack the host's permit numbers to create unlicensed listings on the site. Farah Morali explains.
I immediately called the bylaw officer, and what I heard from him was absolutely mind-blowing.
Alan Eisen's reaction when he learned someone else was using his city permit number to rent out an unlicensed home on Airbnb. He spends part of the year in Mexico and lists his entire home on Airbnb while away. Eisen says he rents it out for no longer than 180 days a year, a city rule, but was flagged by bylaw officers for going over that.
Now you're telling me that somebody else is using my license number, and because somebody else is using my license number, that's putting me over 180 days? And they said, yes, that could be the case.
Eisen says his listing has been taken down by the city 16 times in 5 months, and he's not alone.
I would call it about as widespread as it could get.
This Airbnb host says a city staff member told him they're chasing, quote, pirates, impersonating registered hosts and using a whack-a-mole approach to remove unregistered listings.
That's a severe situation because, A, it takes off a huge amount of inventory for visitors to Toronto, and these are millions of people, and this is a peak travel season.
The city insists the so-called piracy problem isn't widespread. It maintains and enforces its rules to protect rental stock in the city.
Each one is unique, and we need to do the necessary legwork to understand what's happened and then to take appropriate action.
In a statement, Airbnb told CBC, "We continue to be in active discussions with the city to ensure that registered listings are not inadvertently removed by city bylaw officers. It's not the first time listings have been removed. Last summer, CBC reported on hundreds of Airbnb bookings that were canceled last minute because the city flagged them for minor discrepancies. Months later, that problem continues.
For now, it's 5 weeks and counting.
Emil Glassberg's listing for a room in the house he lives in was taken down in November because of a typo in the postal code and a miscategorization. He's waiting for an inspector.
It's expensive to live in this city and pay mortgage without an income. And there doesn't seem to be any sympathy from the city.
For now, hosts like Eisen want the city to remove his permit number from the public, and others want the city to stop automatically removing listings.
Shutting people down without any warning and without any explanation. That is completely fundamentally unfair, and everyone in this society knows it.
Farah Barali, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. It's Port Hope's newest hotspot, a restaurant run by Ukrainian refugees, families who fled the war in Ukraine and are now trying to rebuild their lives in the community. Natalie Kalata dropped into Cafe Lviv to get a taste of what's cooking.
If the name didn't give it away, the wheat sheaf wallpapered walls and smell of hearty, buttery, herbaceous food when you walk into Cafe Lviv makes it clear. Port Hope's newest restaurant is a little taste of Ukraine.
Дуже busy тут, багато канадців хочуть скуштувати українську їжу.
From borscht, beet soup, to nalisninki, stuffed crepes, 15 refugee families are working at the cafe, serving up their culture to their adopted community.
В Києві було дуже популярно якісь десерти, яких немає в Україні, а тут навпаки людям цікаво те, чого немає тут. Тобто більше якісь традиційні українські наші пиріжки. Те, що в Україні це для нас повсякденна, можна сказати, їжа, а тут це делікатес.
This is a good opportunity to cook some really Ukrainian desserts for breakfast, and some people really love it. For example, here is not very popular and common sour cherry, yeah? Sour cherry, yeah. Yeah, and pop seeds, and this is one of the really popular stuff in Ukraine.
Customers are eating it up. Today's lunch service fully booked.
We just wanted to support the Ukrainian refugees here, and this is the best place to do it.
I'm excited to experience real, genuine Ukrainian food. I think it's a great addition to the town of Port Hope.
Port Hope is a really small but vibrant community. People really value give back here and being part of this community, and we've seen that in the past year and a half of living here. So it's special, it's small, it's kind of unique, but also it only has X amount of dining places, and everyone's hungry for a great new spot to be able to eat. So I think they're at the right place at the right time.
And with the right help.
I get shivers. You think about, they've never in a restaurant before, and some of them have just had this idea that they could bring Ukrainian food here. And Michael Thomas came and did all the decor. He's a local interior designer. I donated all the dishes from my party set. Everybody made a contribution here.
This is just the beginning. The plan is to add takeout and possibly even one day franchise out.
I think because it's been so busy, and because we know, of course, now with the number of Ukrainian refugees that have come all over Canada and in many smaller communities, whether or not something like this might actually work in other communities as well, because who doesn't love good Ukrainian food?
Clearly, everyone here does. Natalie Kalata, CBC News, Port Hope.
And let's go back to Dahlia now with a look at your extended forecast. And Dahlia, a winter storm warning in effect. As you mentioned earlier, the advice for tomorrow, stay home if you can.
That's right, Kelda. I mean, we've been teasing up the snowstorm all week. Yesterday was the first official day of winter, and we had no snow. And it's like Mother Nature saying, don't worry, it's on its way. I got you. Today, we also didn't have snow for the most part. A little bit of rain around 9 o'clock, and it's going to really pick up tonight. Then it's going to get into that freezing mark tomorrow morning, which we'll get into in a bit. But first, let's talk about the daytime highs in Toronto, 4 degrees. Overall, pretty decent conditions across Ontario. Ottawa, though, a little bit on the colder side, Ford. I'm going to walk you through really what we're going to be expecting over the next few days. We have a winter storm warning that is in effect, and that is right here all across the board, pretty much all across the nation, really severe conditions, especially in Ottawa. But we are amongst that as well here across the GTA tomorrow. If you don't need to be out on the roads, please stay indoors. Let me walk you through what we're going to be expecting overnight tonight. It's going to be a lot of rain right here. It will be mixing in as well with some snow, and then that will be a freezing flash tomorrow morning. So that means some slick conditions on the road, black ice possibly for those of you commuting to work. So if you don't need to, please stay indoors, especially for those of you that may not have your winter tires on. It will really pick up at around 9 a.m. That's when we're going to start seeing that snow kicking in, and that will last all throughout the day on Friday. Into Saturday, we start to see the flurries. Now, we're also going to be seeing a snow squall tomorrow. So what does that mean? It means some strong winds are expected for tomorrow. So I want to explain it real quickly here. Snow squall, what does it mean? Strong winds mixing in with that snow, and that is very different than the snow belt. Snow belt is where prevailing onshore wind creates heavy snowfall. So really, we're going to be seeing mainly the snow squall for tomorrow. As we can see here tonight, the winds will be gusting up to 54 kilometers an hour. Tomorrow, it will really pick up, and we're going to see winds gusting up to 94 kilometers an hour. So quite a windy day tomorrow. A blizzard is expected for tomorrow. And also what that could mean with the freezing mark as well is some down power lines. So make sure you have a first aid kit ready, some water on the side in case there is a power outage and water stops for tomorrow. In some areas, we're really going to see the snow picking up, especially by around 5 o'clock. It will get quite heavy. As for tonight, temperatures will drop 3 degrees, but still, like I said, it's that rain that we're going to be expecting. Oshawa and Markham, it will be a wintry mix, so rain and snow is in effect. And then Christmas Eve, well, we have a little bit of snow on the way, something to look forward to, -8.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can get caught up anytime. Just head to cbc.ca/Toronto. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Stay safe and have a great night, everyone.